We sent a lot of content out with the packet. Our team, thanks to Ken and Kristen, did two things. They have provided to you a redlined version of recommended changes to the existing Title VI plan. And then also we used an AI review to be able to kind of evaluate from consistency with the current guidelines, what changes might be made. So those materials were included in the packet this morning for a resource. We felt like it was important to share that information with the work group, not necessarily to go through everything today, line by line, but just to kind of give everybody a sense of how we're approaching making updates from a compliance standpoint. I think with respect to everybody, I certainly wouldn't want to turn away any guidance or advice that we could get from a compliance standpoint. But at the same time, I think that it would be really valuable to get this committee or work groups input and feedback about what seems like the right tone to take in the document and what seems like is most approachable. So if our objective with Title VI is to eliminate practices that would create instances of discrimination, if we want to put practices into place that mitigate discrimination, we want to promote accessibility of our planning, of our employment, of our purchasing. I think that that's sort of where we would love to be able to get conversation from the committee members about, what are the things that really would demonstrate our commitment to that accessibility. Kristen, when we were talking yesterday, we were talking about the different ways that we could think about accessibility, right? Like there's a kind of hard and fast way that we could think about it from a disability accessibility perspective, but there's I think a wider set of definitions that we could consider when we want to try to make sure that we're creating a welcoming and opening environment for all, and creating an inclusive environment where anybody who is interested in engaging in the planning process could easily do so and could easily find information and understand how to go about doing that. So I think those would be the things that I would be really interested in making sure that we capture in our updates to the Title VI plan. So I'll kind of maybe take a pause there and ask for folks if they want to have a discussion about that. And again, working backwards, our goal would be that we would have a draft Title VI plan ready to go before the policy board, ideally by the August meeting. And so we certainly have time, want to be respectful of summer schedules and people needing to do other things. But we felt like this was a good kind of kickoff to be able to figure out what our game plan was to meet the needs of the update project. So I really will stop talking now.
So
Bernard,
I haven't, yeah, I haven't read through the whole document yet, but I happen to have a compliance professional living in my house that I could possibly have him, we could look it over together just to see if he sees anything that stands out. I mean, he reads documents like this all the time. So I just think that there's an opportunity there for that, just to get a different viewpoint. But I will take more time to read this over. I'll print it out. It's too difficult to read on my screen right now. So
thank you. I appreciate that offer. We really appreciate that. Hey, Andrew and Stephanie, we just got started. I gave a little spiel at the beginning about how the materials we put together in the packet this morning are really kind of from a compliance-driven perspective. So the red line version has maybe Ken, you can correct me, but sort of maybe two buckets of corrections, things that we just know were erroneous or factually needed to be updated or corrected. And then also things that we've identified that we need to adjust from a compliance practice perspective. And then the AI review is an attempt to be able to take a non-human view at the language that's been provided in 2025 from executive orders and other guidance, and try to look at it from that lens to see if there were any things that we could pick up that should be incorporated or removed in the updated document. Ken, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, Martha, I was just going to say that I went through and tried to identify and correct some of the very basic things. For example, the current Title VI plan still has our addresses over in Forest Hill, so we've taken care of all of that. Uh, and then I also tried to go through and identify some of the words and phraseology that probably needs to be omitted or revised, and I think we've done a pretty good job of that. Um, where I have some questions, and if you read the document closely, you'll see my notes and my comments in there. There are some references to certain uh, executive orders, federal policies, and so forth that I think have been rescinded or overturned that probably they need to come out. Not being an attorney, though, I kind of feel like it's kind of above my expertise. So we probably do need to maybe have our counsel take a look at it at some point and give have his advice. And if Jessica's you know husband could do that as well, that might be beneficial. Um,
You,
I see there's some areas in here that are in Spanish. Do we have someone that is Spanish fluent that is making sure this is, or was this AI translated?
the Title VI plan that that is in effect now, we actually had professionally translated so that it would be accurate to the language, but also from a readability standpoint at the reading level. And so we would do the same practice again. I see we got multiple hands, so if it's okay, I'll go in the order I think I saw them. Kristen, I think you were first, and then Emily, and then Andrew.
I just wanted to add that the part of the reason for including an AI sort of scan and asking for AI to do certain things was to remove that human element, as you mentioned, Martha, so that not that this would be a leading factor in the work, but that there wouldn't be any hurt feelings for just blatantly saying that's not appropriate, that it could really just be scoring through and either, plus or minusing or, which I think is a very helpful tool to have something that's a little bit potentially dispassionate about the work you're doing. And so please, know that to treat that very much like with a hammer or a scalpel or however, that you're not going to hurt a human's feelings in any way. But it does bring up opportunities to talk about changing of language and how that might come across to the public or even this committee. That's great.
Emily?
Hi, everyone. I know this is just a starting point, but I was involved in writing a contract for the market value analysis that we're about to kick off. And we spoke with Eric briefly about our contract template also references previous executive orders that have been revoked. And we didn't know whether we should just remove references to that. And we went with, since everything is in kind of legal flux right now, the option that we went with that Eric approved was to add a line that says, quote, executive order number issued on date revoked this provision. So I understand that the revoked executive orders are different than the level of the Civil Rights Act, but I think that that's one example of a way to handle the rapidly changing landscape, to acknowledge what was the plan or what was the appropriate terminology and the fact that it is changing, but we're not sure where it might land.
Thanks, Emily. Andrew?
All I was going to say is that regarding the Spanish sections, I have a good friend who used to review Title VI documents for her job and is also Spanish as her first language. So she's already expressed interest in taking a look at this because I told her that that's what we were doing here. and I was gonna invite her to this meeting, but didn't have a chance because I'm traveling right now. But I would love to ask her to glance over the Spanish sections of it and see if they're aligning with how she would translate them or reflect the what the rest of the document is saying.
That's awesome. Having um, that overlap of skill is really great, right? So that we can make sure we're not um, miscommunicating the legal elements of this. That's awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah.
Just a minor, and I don't know if you can just so there's a typo on page 16. It says anyone fling a complaint can do so in the following ways instead of filing. Sorry. Just so
Thank
know.
you. That's
Flinging things would be much more fun.
we would like people to file, not fling, right? Yeah. Thanks. Well, so I mean, two of you have now volunteered people in your lives to sort of join this effort. Stephanie and Cameron, I want to make sure you have a chance to weigh in, but I'm curious, just thinking about kind of process and how we can approach things going forward. I should have said this in the intro too. We have requested support from Virginia's Department of Transportation Title VI division to help understand this. And so I think we could, once we have kind of a draft, we could send it to them as well to do a review. So it might be nice to build that kind of process in the timeline too. So I'm wondering how we as a group might want to go forward with this effort and think about scheduling and that kind of thing. Timeline wise, maybe to give a little bit of context, the August TPO meeting is scheduled for August 7th. Janice, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like I'm still a little, yeah, it's on the calendar for August 7th. And so we would be distributing that packet of materials no later than July 28th. And so technically speaking, that's our window. I would say from a comfort perspective, we probably would like to have the document finalized at least by the week of the 21st. So we have until about mid-July for this group to meet and convene. And if we do want to have an opportunity for the VDOT folks to review, I would say we want to probably give them a 2-week window or something like that to give them fair notice. So that might mean that we're looking at roughly maybe the first week of July that we'd like to kind of have a draft that this work group is comfortable with. I don't know that we have a CTAC meeting scheduled in July. It's not on the schedule, right, Janice? So just kind of being respectful of summer schedules, the CTAC officially doesn't come back, but we could certainly circulate this to the CTAC membership and move it forward that way. Or Andrew, if you feel like we should have a meeting, we could work on scheduling a meeting of the CTAC in that window. What do you think?
Distributing it would be sufficient. Honestly, I think everybody in the CTAC who really wants to spend time like reviewing and participating is probably on this call. But even otherwise, I think distributing it would be sufficient instead of a new meeting.
Okay.
Or not on this call, but has participated in the equity working group meetings.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So it looks, I mean, today's May 30th, so I mean, it looks like we really have like the month of June to be able to convene, and I want to make sure that if we can tap into these resources that you all have to offer, we can give the right amount of time for that. What would make sense for us?
So I would think that, I mean, if anyone would have revisions, I mean, send them in before like 2 weeks before our next meeting, whenever, or I mean, or Or when is our next meeting? Maybe I guess that's a better question. I'm thinking probably by at least mid-June if we have to have all of it done completely by the first week of July for you to have to review it.
So we don't
I'm-
have a meeting scheduled. That would be, yeah, so so yeah, I mean, I think one option could be if we want to meet before the end of June, give everybody a chance to review, compile edits, we could send them, we'd have a chance to pull all that together and redistribute. We could meet to talk about it in June and then finalize, and then we could meet again in July potentially if we felt like we needed to circle back on our external party review from VDOT before it would put it into the packet for the August policy board meeting. You guys have given so much time, so I feel like I'm not being very direct with you all because I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I don't want to make it sound like we're trying to compress or shoehorn this into a schedule that doesn't work for you.
I think if we have 2 weeks to review and give feedback and meet after 2 weeks to discuss that, that would then give y'all 2 weeks to integrate any changes, right? Before
Sure.
it needs to be done. So to me, it makes sense to come back in 2 weeks. I don't know
Okay.
if that fits with your timeline or if we would need to shorten that to like a week and a half or a week or something. I don't know how much time you think you would need to meet with VDOT, integrate changes, stuff like that.
I'm kind of imagining we would send it to Mr. Solomon and then just want to give him enough time, so I mean, I can give him advance notice. I mean, if I'm hearing you right, Andrew, are you thinking maybe this group would get back together the week of like June 16th and then, or do you want to, I mean, we
no,
could get.
yeah, that makes sense to
Okay.
me. If
Okay.
that fits with everybody else's timeline, that would give the EWG 2 weeks to go over the proposed changes, suggest our own, have people we know with expertise glance over it and suggest their own changes, and then we can meet back and talk about it. And then y'all have 2 weeks to do your side of it.
We could send it to VDOT after we get into July. So,
Okay.
I mean, even if you want to have the meeting, so maybe we should get explicit about availability. Is the week of the 16th to the 23rd? And I'm sorry for our team, I don't have your all's schedules up, so you all should speak up too.
Martha, you're going to be out of town the 18th through the 20th. It looks like the 17th would work well.
I'm not out of town in June.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Well,
Sure.
I don't think so. I think,
you've got
are you looking at the
GMA summer
yeah.
camp. And okay.
Spoiler alert, I put things on my calendar when it says FYI, just because that's the local government managers conference. So I know I can't reach them when they're going to be at a conference.
I got you. Well, it looks like on the calendar, we would be good.
Sorry about that.
16th, 17th, possibly the 18th. The 19th is Juneteenth, and then you
Oh, yes.
on your calendar for the 20th. So I think the 17th looks like 16th or 17th. We could do it in the morning. We could do it. We can't do noon on the 17th. Are we planning another virtual meeting, or would we convene in person? What?
With the pleasure of the group.
I'm up for whatever, and I'm open both those days. I don't have a lot on my calendar right now.
If it is in person, it would be far easier for me if it was a lunchtime meeting.
Okay.
Otherwise, Mondays through Wednesday, I'm in the office. Thursday and Friday, I'm at home, and it's much easier for me to go to an in-person meeting. So virtual would be my preference if we're on a Monday through Wednesday.
Is the week of the 23rd better because Janice, I forgot about the state holiday on the 19th, so that could be kind of hard. I wonder if we could do so Andrew, if I'm hearing you correctly, did you say Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Thursday, Friday is easier for in person?
By days that I could do an in-person meeting.
Thursday, Friday.
Or Thursday, Friday, okay. So we could do the 26th or 27th, potentially in person. Do you all like in person better or virtual? Is there a preference of
Mhm.
in person?
In person better, but
Yeah.
So I will, yeah, I mean, I'm already gonna be downtown on Thursday for a GRP meeting
Oh, okay.
until 10. So, I mean, I can come down. I mean, that's fine. I can waste some time downtown and come over. That's fine.
Yeah, 26th or 27th would be good for me as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephanie. Andrew, Cameron, I know because of your schedule, you're not going to be able to make a meeting in June. So
Yeah,
I
the
don't want to feel
26th
like I'm
and
ignoring
27th
you.
might be difficult for me. I have a question after we figured out the
Okay.
logistics.
both of those days would work fine for me. Pretty much anytime, though. If we are planning on doing lunch, then like 11:30 sounds like it might be a good time slot. So Jessica could get through her meeting and then we can all convene for lunch, basically.
We do the 26th at 11:30 then?
Okay.
Does that work for our team members?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It works for me. Just looking at what I see on everybody else's calendar. But the 26th at 11:30, Martha, you've got something on your calendar, but if that's just a hold, then that would work.
Yeah, I might be a little bit late to this meeting, but I can get back as soon as I can, if that's okay.
Okay, so we'll say 11:30 then on Thursday, the 26th in person.
Okay. All right. I'll add it to my calendar.
Cameron, you said you had a question.
Yes. So, how is there like is there an easy way to share one singular document that the entire team can work in, as opposed, or
A live
do
document.
you all feel that you just want the PDF, we can review it and then submit 7 PDFs to you all to review?
So you are bringing up an amazing opportunity for efficiency. Unfortunately, due to FOIA, the ability to have members of a group working collaboratively in a single document of a group of this size is not authorized under FOIA because it would be considered communication
Yeah, FOIA.
without public notice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Darn.
Unfortunately. Yeah, I know, right?
FOIA is evil. That's all I have to say.
Well, what I would say that it might not be too difficult if everyone just submitted their comments to me by email. I can copy and paste them into one document that we can review at the meeting. If that works for everybody.
Seemed the most efficient way to do it if you're willing to do that
Thank you.
remediation, Janice. That is a lot of work for you.
Well, no, copying and pasting isn't too much. That would be easier than say don't leave them to me on voicemail, and then I have to type and transcribe them. But no, I think we can do that pretty easily.
And then I guess the follow-up question there is, should we be working off the one that already has some edits, comments, or should we just work on the kind of clean old version? My concern is just I don't want to duplicate efforts if Ken's already gone through and looked at some stuff and deleted it, we're all going to catch similar
Yeah.
things like Martha Heater.
I
Just
I
as an
think
example.
yeah, I appreciate that. I think that it might be easiest to distribute the Word document with the track changes. You guys have a PDF of it, but if we sent that Word track changes, then yes, you wouldn't have to spend time tracing through the same things that have already been identified. Now, if you want to comment on a change that you have an opinion about, we would want to invite that as well.
To people reviewing it, that if you take that Word document and you make sure you're signed into Word and you keep track changes on, you can make all your own edits as if it was a shared document, and then just go through everything with your name on it and pull that out and send it to Janice. And that'll probably be the easiest way to make sure you capture all of your own comments and communicate them.
That sounds very technical.
If you leave track changes
Thank
on,
you for
it should
saying
keep
that,
it should keep your
Jessica.
name
Yeah, track
under.
changes can be really easy or really complicated. It's
I,
real divisive.
I'm actually thinking that if you don't mind, if you would just review the document in Word and then just start a clean email to me with, comment 1, comment 2,
Okay.
comment 3, that would be easier for me to compile. If I get 7 or however many versions of the Word document with different comments in it, I think that would be more time consuming. So if you don't mind, I think the easiest way would just be to send me your comments. I'll put them all together and we'll review them at the June 26th meeting.
So I'm thinking okay, in this clean email for you, comment 1, page 4,
Yeah.
paragraph 7.
Yeah.
That
So that's going to be a little bit more work for you all rather than just putting the comments in the Word document.
I'd actually say, why don't we just get it however it's easiest for you members to submit the changes, and we can either merge Word files or we can kind of review them. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 people, so I think we might be able to figure it out on our end. So whatever is easiest for you all. You all are helping us, so I don't want to make it too hard.
So it's kind of clean email with some bullet points makes a lot of sense.
And yes, and if it's easier because you don't really know what you want the language to be, but you think this section needs to be spruced up or made more clear, that's a great way to be able to communicate that. There might be things that you want to be able to flag that as a group we need to discuss, and so that would be a great way to be able to flag those kinds of things too. I don't think we necessarily expect everybody to go through this with a fine-tooth comb and have the precise language that ought to be used on the first try, right? Like this is a group effort. Okay, so we have a timeline and kind of a game plan. We can, after this meeting, get a document back out to you all so that if you want to use Word, you can. If you want to just draw from the PDF, you can, depending on how you want to communicate those changes. And we know that we're going to meet again on June 26th at 11:30. The goal of that meeting would be to really go through, and we'll do that in person so that we can really go through all of the compiled changes and determine I wonder if it would be okay. I mean, if there appears to be just general consensus, or if it's things like the address change or whatnot, could we go ahead and clear those changes so that they're just showing as part of the revised document? Would everybody, and then we could focus our time when we next meet on the 26th on the parts that warrant discussion.
I'm okay with that.
Sounds
I
good to
keep
me.
on looking for on the Zoom, you know how there's the reaction button typically on a Zoom call? I keep on looking for that because I just want to give a thumbs up, but I don't think it's enabled.
I think we don't have that in webinar. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
That
No
is
worries.
funny. I was looking for it earlier, Stephanie, too, and I couldn't find it. So, okay. Well, and then I think it sounds like if when we meet on the 26th, we'll kind of know where we are, and then if we feel like we're satisfied with the product, then we could share that with VDOT, and or we could Andrew, I'm circling back to the support that you thought about. I think it would probably be unwise for us to attempt to translate before we found ourselves at a place of satisfaction with the document. And so I wonder if we draw on your resource in July as we try to prepare the translated copy of the text once we're satisfied.
We'll talk to my friend and see if that's something she'd be willing to commit to, and then I can let us know in our next meeting if she's willing to be a
Okay.
resource for us.
Okay, that's
My,
great.
hus-
Thank
my
you.
husband just messaged me back. He said, this is an 87-page document. Just like, I was just asking.
So he doesn't have to read those sections.
Yeah, I know.
Tell him half of it's in Spanish.
Yeah.
Somebody found the emojis.
Yeah.
I think I enabled that somehow.
Thanks, Sid.
Sid's got the power. Oh, there we go.
He's got the power.
Thank you, Sid.
How's everybody feeling about this game plan? Does this seem like it makes sense? I do want to sort of, I think, repeat something I said earlier, just because I think it's important. I think what's also very valuable about engaging you all in reviewing the document with us is to really think about, does it land right? Are there things in here that, don't make sense? We have a link on the website about where one would go to file a complaint for a Title VI violation. Is that easy enough to find? I mean, I think, one of the things we want to try to do with this is, if we're really committed to non-discrimination, how do we make that clear in the way that we work to mitigate discrimination? And if you make, as an example, if you make the complaint form hard to fill out, hard to find, difficult to do, you're sending a message that you actually don't want to hear feedback about this kind of thing.
Yes.
So that user-friendly kind of piece of this,
Yes.
I think, is really important.
This is something that I strive to, and the government does not understand this. I like with transparency with documents on our website. They're just like, oh no, it's super easy. I'm just like, no, super easy is one
Yeah.
line.
Well, that's the thing, like, right? Like, we
Yeah.
know our website so well that we don't,
Yeah.
I think we have a blind spot for those things.
Yeah.
So we don't mean to make it hard sometimes. And I know, Kristen, you've already got a point of view about some of that with, just how one would go about learning how to attend a meeting, right? I mean, we've got some room for improvement there too. So
That's so interesting, because this is something that I was going to bring in today. Just as an aside, I had a hard time finding the Zoom link for today's meeting, which is why I was late, and then tried to get onto the website, and I got to the part where there's the calendar, the whole calendar for this meeting today, but the Zoom link's not right there. And then and then I had to go back to my email, and then I figured out, I had to scroll down, and then I did realize, no, the Zoom link is there, but it was very confusing to me. And Ken, I sent you an email. I think I've done that a few times since we've worked together, because I've come into this situation where I don't find it very easy. I think if I were a member of the public, to try to enter this room would be very hard.
Was late for the same reason, and I fully second everything you just said, Stephanie. I would say I think the best practice for web accessibility, thank you, Kat, is 2 clicks. Like, you should be able to access everything from a document within 2 clicks. I don't know if that's always possible, but that is the best practice, the goal for accessibility.
I always say, can't we just make everything like push this button? That's bingo. It takes you right to. And
even like using language that says find Zoom link here. like meeting, Zoom, like just making it really obvious. I think that's really important. It maybe looks a little bit less like clean cut, like your the way
It's
that your
funny.
website reads.
I think on the agendas, I noticed, Janice, I think you and Sid must have done this recently. I noticed that you've moved from having the very long address to just a link that says Zoom link, right? So Stephanie, just hearing you loud and clear what you're saying, I'm wondering, Janice and Sid, is this stuff that you feel like you could either take from what you're hearing from Stephanie and Andrew today, or follow up and we could make some of those types of changes? Because
I can try to make
it's all related, right?
Oh, I can try to make it larger. I mean, what I have done recently is, instead of, like I said, including the whole URL address, I've tried to, it looks like in this email for this meeting, no, that's an old one. So I have tried to, insert a link into something in all caps that says Zoom webinar link, but I can make that larger. It does have to be in the email along with, or maybe I can put it at the very top, and do the description or the explanation under it. It's just certain number of things that we have to include in these emails. And as far as the website calendar, like our only option for that calendar is to link to the agenda. And so I try to put it at the top of each agenda.
To be clear, I think the way that it's in the email and the agenda are great. Once I was at the agenda, I was able to find it very easily. It was knowing that the Zoom link was in the agenda that took me a while to figure out, because I didn't have the email in front of me. I couldn't find it because Outlook does not like to search things at all. And so I was trying to find it through the calendar link, or the calendar invite. The calendar invite had a link to the calendar page. The calendar page I clicked on that to get to the description of it, and there it said register for the webinar here. And that was how I clicked on it. But that,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly
eventually
that.
I
Yeah.
looked at the
Sorry, Andrew. Yes, knowing that the Zoom link is on the agenda and that it's on the second page of the agenda. If there's any way to say that, like find Zoom link on page 2 of each agenda, that would be, if it's possible to add that, that would be very helpful, I think.
Or yeah, we can try to make it
Helpful too. We've had an ongoing discussion about a new website, so I think some of these things we can try to improve for now, and we can make, maybe as a condition of how we want our next website to function, we could make even more improvements, right? Like we could probably we'll just keep trying to do better each time, right? So
love if
I
you
like
could
those suggestions.
access the webinar directly from the calendar page on the site that shows all the meetings, instead of having to click on it, download the agenda, open the agenda, and then click the webinar link. If there was like a webinar link in that page itself, next to download agenda, something like that.
I want to just jump
Into
in
that.
to say that we definitely have been discussing internally all of the things that you're mentioning. So this is great to hear and echo externally, from members. We have updated the public meeting participation guide. There's an infographic that's been updated, and so currently we're looking at where on the website and how to be using that. And it actually is more comprehensive in that it talks about submitting written comments and when you show up, what is the protocol. So there's a comprehensive look at all of the ways, including requesting accommodations, and that is an existing link, and trying to pull those and make them more public. The one thing I would say that I'm sure maybe Janice and Sid are thinking about too is that each one of these meetings has a unique link. So there's not per se like join meetings here. Every time. So I think that's part of that challenge of having the right link in the right place. But I agree. I learned quickly when I got here that it was in the agenda and opening that. I will say that does force people to look at the agenda, knowing the link is in there, right? So if you come to a meeting and you maybe haven't looked at the agenda, and you might then wonder where the agenda is. So I think that's a great discussion to be having about user experience and what are the possible pathways. And I'm here for that.
Yeah, and I would just add that I appreciate Stephanie that you were like ready to bring it up. Because I think again, like Kristen said, we've been talking about some of these things, but I know for myself, and I can't speak for others, but for myself, when you get, I mean, we do so many of these meetings that it becomes it's so obvious to us that I don't even know what is confusing to someone else because it's what I do every day, all day for work. So I really just appreciate that you were willing to give the feedback.
I appreciate everyone who's, Kristen and Janice and Sid and all of you that are working on it. I know you're doing like absolutely everything you can. And I tried to not look at it as a personal failing, but I don't know. Of course, we do so many events too, and I just see like if there's even like a hiccup it's not exactly a barrier, but if you have to go that extra mile a little bit, or it's not that intuitive even, I think it just makes it a lot harder for folks who have never been in a room like this to put themselves in a room like this. That's all.
Yeah, and if it feels hard, then it feels unwelcoming.
Yes.
Yeah, or just like someone's going to be like, well, I'm not going to do that.
Martha, did you want to share that we passed the
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, so yesterday in the RTPO meeting, we did pass the honorarium. So we are set to do the pilot program for this next year for the CTAC. So good job. Great job, everybody.
Oh.
And I will note it was unanimously approved by the policy board members. So
there was someone that pulled it out of the consent agenda because he had concerns, and we were able to make him understand. So I was happy to see Chair Newbill chime in and agree with what I was saying. So that was good.
Wow.
Also note that Michael Wiebe from our CTAC attended the meeting virtually and chimed in and participated in the discussion as well. And he's a brand new member, so that was really cool to have his willingness to be there and a spokesperson for the effort.
Great job, team.
Great job. That's amazing. Is there a recording of that meeting? I'd love to watch it.
Yes, it's on YouTube.
On the meeting calendar. No, I can send everyone the link to the meeting. But they also passed the attendance policy, which is it's a first for any of our committees. So I think that's going to help us down the road. With being able to communicate better on and help us make sure we have the appropriate CTAC members. So both policies passed unanimously.
Yeah, and I'll note two more things on that. I think that this group did talk a little bit about what our steps would be to communicate with CTAC members. And so I think we could come back at the June 26th work group meeting if you all would be okay with it, with a recommendation of how we think we want to launch that attendance policy and stipend policy as well. Because again, I think we want to hit the note of there was a lot of conversation yesterday about the importance of recognizing the expertise around the table and that the stipends are a representation of that appreciation. And so I think that there's something really important about the messaging and the communication and conveyance of how we're going to roll out this program and the pilot. And also I'll share that the executive committee, in the context of reviewing what will come before them later this fall for bylaws amendments, the executive committee was very receptive to inviting the CTAC to review the section of the bylaws as it pertains to the purpose of the CTAC and make recommendations as to the CTAC's charter, its purpose and role in the MPO planning process. And so I would love to be able to have that be a part of the next CTAC meeting agenda so that we could bring that perspective point of view back. I know that was one of the things that Lisa Guthrie mentioned, like how could we have a conversation with the policy board about our role and what we have to offer and what we do. So I felt like the executive committee was very receptive to moving in that direction.
So I just want to, I mean, with the new year starting in July 1st, I think that sending out this information to the CTAC members ahead of time so that they know that this is the new expectation gives us a full year of data points. And so I think making sure that they know that they have this expectation and there's going to be an attendance policy and that woohoo, you get $50 per meeting if you show up, and maybe send out the forms to say if they want to decline it or if they want to, the forms that they're going to have to fill out for those things as well. But that's just my personal thought process.
Good idea.
And I was just like to comment that going back to yesterday's TPO meeting, for those who weren't watching or part of it, that it was interesting to me, the one individual who initially expressed some concern about the policy after some discussion about the reason behind it, the rationale, the benefits of it, and so forth. He came around and told everybody there that he was on board with it. So it was interesting to see how he changed his viewpoint.
Agreed. Yeah.
Wow.
I had a question just quickly back before I forget it, about the initial sort of more summary review of the Title VI plan that was submitted. I'm not remembering which body, Martha, we had to submit that to. Is there a recommendation letter or some kind of summary that comes back that would need to be incorporated for people to look at?
Title VI review, the state review.
Yes, so thank you. That's the state review. Does
Yeah.
something come back from that?
They will send us a letter. It will be short, sweet, to the point. If all of our material that we submitted was deemed satisfactory, it will be a little bit lengthier if they want to commend or recommend improvements. So commend activities or recommend improvements, and it will be much longer if there are findings with a period of time that they'll give us instructions basically for, we identified this deficiency and we'd like to give you the opportunity to improve upon that deficiency, and you have X amount of time to do so. So, and I don't, to my knowledge, there's not a clearly defined time frame by which we must expect that response back. They're typically just on memory. It's every 3 years. It's typically I'm hopeful that by the time we meet in June 26th, we will have gotten that feedback. But I can always, I think I could, now that we have our timeline and our schedule and our approach, I could reach out to Mr. Solomon and just inquire, if we might have that feedback in a timely manner for that meeting, and his advice on how we could incorporate the feedback into this process. Would that be, thanks for flagging that. I think that sounds like a good way to invite that. Does anybody have any other feedback or questions or kind of next steps before we adjourn?
I did want to point out that I think there must have been like an erroneous Control F replace or something, because proficiency is spelled wrong on the cover of the plan. But it is not in the screenshot of the cover of the plan on the how to read this document page. And I Control F'd the way that proficiency is misspelled, and it appears 13 times, that specific misspelling. So I think there must have been like an erroneous replace somebody accidentally did at some point. But I did want to point out that that misspelling is there on the cover and throughout.
Thank you. Okay, we'll make sure we catch that too. I feel like that's another like blind spot that I have. I never look at the cover page on things. Shouldn't have said that.
I had a quick
I think
question.
Andrew should just do all the work because he seems to have all the handy dandy editing tools.
Yeah, that was a nice skill. The question I have is about the design of the document, I guess. Like I noticed in several pages, like the text is like it's hard to read because it's over top of a blue box that is meant for design and style, but it's like it's not actually working for like so I was just wondering if we are meant to like point stuff like that out as well. Like if you look at page 12, page 11, for example, it's like, part of the words are white on a blue background, so you can read them, but then just below those white words are the text color shifts into that gray, and so you can't really read it.
Do you think that if we're going to look at the design of the document, we should probably look at the fresh copy without any markup, because the marking up process has thrown all of the formatting off, and so none of it actually looks the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah, if one were to pull the designed document from the website that doesn't have the track changes, I think my hope would be, Stephanie, that the thing that you just pointed out on page 11 isn't how the actual public facing document looks, but we should make sure that all of that is cleaned up before it gets finalized for moving forward.
Yeah, Stephanie, I'm looking at page 11, and that's an error being created by the markup
Got you.
corrections.
Awesome. Yeah,
But
thanks.
I do think that that's worth looking at throughout on a clean document.
Anyone else have any? Thank you all very much for your time today. Just to recap, you'll see a calendar invite come out for the next scheduled meeting. I will ask our staff to make sure that we also distribute the document in that Word format, so that if you want to use that format, we can do so. And I will make sure, I'm just trying to list through the next steps. I will make sure that I reach out to Mr. Solomon. Any other to-dos that we need to have before the meeting closes?
Sounds like all of them to me.
Great. And Andrew's going to proofread everything.
I think that's what I heard. I think that's
Excellent.
that's the takeaway.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Great meeting. I hope you all have a nice weekend. It looks like, at least for a little bit, it's not going to rain. So enjoy the sunshine that we have, and see you all in a couple weeks.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank
everyone.
you.